You've been crying for peace, begging Allah to make the storm stop. But what if He's not trying to calm your life right now? What if He's using the fire to awaken the version of you that peace alone could never create? Sign 1, you asked for relief. But Allah needed to break the version of you that clings to comfort. You thought you were asking Allah for peace, but peace wasn't what you truly needed. And He knew that. You were tired, yes. You were worn out. And all you wanted was to breathe without breaking. To wake up and not feel like you're walking through your day with invisible wounds. To not pretend you're okay when you know you're not. So you asked for stillness. You begged for calm. You cried for things to finally go your way, just this once. But Allah, He didn't give you peace. Not because He didn't hear you. Not because He was ignoring you, but because He saw something you couldn't see. He saw the version of you that was quietly fading, behind the comfort you thought would heal you. He saw the version of you that was surviving but no longer growing. You had made a home out of survival, and survival slowly started to become your identity. You were becoming someone who no longer dreamed, someone who no longer spoke up, someone who accepted being drained, overlooked, forgotten, just to keep the illusion of peace alive. But peace that makes you smaller is not peace. It's quiet, suffocation, and Allah doesn't love you in a way that lets you stay hidden. He doesn't bless you with silence that makes you weak. He blesses you with disruption when He sees your soul settling for less than it was created to carry. So He shook your world. He didn't give you peace. He gave you what felt like loss, what felt like failure, what felt like everything going wrong. But it wasn't going wrong. It was going divinely right, because you were asking Him for relief. But the version of you who wanted that relief was not the version Allah was planning to use for something greater. And in order to raise you, He first had to remove you from who you had become. So He began breaking the shell you were trapped in. The version of you that learned to stay quiet, to keep others comfortable. The version of you that carried everyone else's pain, but buried your own. The version of you that stopped believing your life could be powerful again. He didn't do it all at once. He did it gently, painfully, but precisely. One heartbreak at a time, one closed door at a time, one lonely night at a time, until slowly, the version of you that was addicted to comfort began to crack. And yes, it hurt. It confused you. It made you wonder, Ya Allah, what am I doing wrong? But you weren't doing anything wrong. You were just being called out of a cage you didn't realize you were in. Because you see, Allah never created you to just cope, to just get by, to just function in survival mode. He created you to rise, to lead, to walk through this world with a spirit that cannot be shaken. But you can't walk like that if you're still clinging to the version of yourself who needs everything to be easy in order to feel okay. That's not peace. That's dependency. So Allah stripped it away, not to harm you, but to introduce you to a stronger version of you haven't met yet. The version who can sit with pain and still pray. The version who can be betrayed and still forgive. The version who can be abandoned but still feel guided. That version isn't weak. That version is powerful. And only that version is strong enough to carry the peace that lasts, the peace that can't be taken from you. When people leave, when plans collapse, when life doesn't go the way you imagined. Because Allah doesn't give peace to protect you from pain. He gives you power first, So when pain does come, it doesn't destroy your faith. It deepens it. So if you're sitting in chaos right now, if your soul is tired and you don't know why things aren't getting better, maybe it's not because Allah is delaying your peace. Maybe it's because He's still removing the version of you who only knew how to breathe in comfort. You are being rebuilt. Your strength is being restored. And the peace you're asking for, it's not gone. It's just waiting for you to become someone who won't run from fire, but someone who walks through it calmly, knowing they were chosen to endure. So no, Allah didn't give you peace right away. He gave you something better. He gave you the tools to never lose peace again, even in the middle of the storm. And one day, when you look back, you'll thank Him, not just for the peace, but for breaking the version of you that was willing to live without power, just to feel safe, because you weren't made to stay safe. You were made to walk with Allah, and that kind of walk requires strength before serenity. Sign 2, He kept you up at night so you could finally hear what the day drowns out. You keep wondering why you can't sleep. You lie down tired, but your mind doesn't stop. Your heart keeps whispering things you don't know how to silence. Your body is begging for rest, but your soul feels like it's been dragged into another battlefield. And night after night, you ask the same question inside your heart. Ya Allah, why won't you just let me rest? But what if it's not that Allah is denying you rest? What if He's inviting you to something deeper than sleep? You see, the day is too loud. People are too loud. Your routine is too loud. And sometimes, even your prayers during the day are rushed, distracted, and scattered. But at night, there's no one to pretend for. There's no one watching. There's no mask to wear. Just you and Him, and the sound of your heart echoing in a room that finally has no distractions. And in that silence, you hear the voice you've been running from, your own, the part of you that's been quietly breaking while you've been performing strength for everyone else. That's the voice Allah wants you to hear, because that voice isn't weak, it's real. And real voices pray deeper. Real voices ask without filters. Real voices cry from places that fake peace can't reach. So maybe you're not up at night because you're broken. Maybe you're up because Allah has something to say to you that the noise of the day has been drowning out. Maybe the sleepless nights aren't your punishment. They're your divine appointment. They're the hours when the veil is thinner, when your tears are closest to being heard, when your heart is raw enough to be reshaped. And isn't it strange? The very hour you feel the most alone is the hour Allah is the closest. The last third of the night, the time where He descends and asks, "Who is calling me so I may respond? Who is asking me so I may give?" You weren't abandoned. You were being summoned, not for punishment, but for presence, not to cry for answers, but to remember the one who holds them. Because when the world sleeps, Allah wakes the ones He loves with a discomfort they don't understand, but can't ignore. And maybe that's you. Maybe that's why you've been tossing in your bed, while others sleep peacefully beside their distractions. Maybe He kept you restless because He didn't want to lose you to a life that looks peaceful on the outside, but is slowly destroying you inside. He wanted your heart, but not the numb version of your heart. The real, fragile, aching version. The one you hide from everyone, but can't hide from Him. So He created a moment in the middle of your exhaustion where everything falls silent and the only thing left is the sound of your soul calling its master. This is not insomnia. This is intimacy. This is the place where your broken whispers become louder than your loudest daytime dua. And you wonder why your heart is so heavy, but maybe it's heavy because it's full of things you were never meant to carry alone. And Allah is waiting, just waiting, for you to finally say, "Ya Allah, I can't hold this anymore." Not because He didn't already know, but because you needed to hear yourself surrender. That's why He kept you up, not to torture you, but to talk to you, at the hour when your soul is too tired to pretend. You thought you needed sleep, but what you really needed was Him, because one moment of honest surrender in the night can heal what 1,000 hours of sleep cannot. And when you finally say it, when you finally let it out, you won't just fall asleep, you'll fall into peace. Not the kind you find in silence, but the kind you find when you've been heard by the one who never sleeps. Sign 3. The delay in peace was a mercy, so you wouldn't settle for a shallow life. You keep wondering why things still haven't calmed, why your life still feels like it's in between one test and the next. Why, after all your prayers, peace hasn't fully arrived. You keep asking, "Ya Allah, if you love me, why am I still in this?" But maybe you don't realize it yet. The delay in peace was one of the most merciful things Allah ever gave you, because you were about to settle for a version of life that was quieter, but not deeper, easier, but not meaningful, comfortable, but not transformational. And Allah, in His mercy, held back the calm you begged for, because He saw how small your dreams were becoming. He saw how low your standards had fallen, and He loved you too much to let you build your future on shallow ground. You see, sometimes peace comes quickly, but it's a weak kind of peace. It's the kind that makes you soft in the wrong ways, the kind that keeps you asleep spiritually, even while your life looks fine on the outside. You would have called it a blessing, but Allah knew it would have been a trap. He saw the plans you were calling peace were actually distractions in disguise. He saw the relationship you thought would bring peace was only going to bring you dependence. He saw the job, the lifestyle, the routine would have numbed your soul, and you wouldn't even know it. So He delayed it, not to harm you, but to elevate you. He said no to your version of peace, because He was preparing you for something deeper, something more alive, something that wouldn't make you hide your pain, but help you rise with power through it. You didn't need shallow peace. You needed something unshakable, and that kind of peace takes longer to build. That kind of peace needs you to grow first, to be stripped of illusions, to stop calling survival purpose, to stop decorating your cage and calling it home, to stop staying where you're shrinking just because it's silent. Sometimes peace would have arrived too soon and made you forget what you're really capable of. You would have lost your hunger, lost your edge, lost the fire Allah was trying to light in you. So instead, He gave you delay. He gave you confusion. He gave you nights where everything felt like it was falling apart, because in that crumbling, your soul was finally exposed. And in that exposure, you finally began to ask the right questions. Not, when will things get easier? But who am I becoming in all this? And that question, that pain, that uncomfortable delay, became your turning point. You see, peace is beautiful, but peace before maturity is dangerous. It can make you too quiet too soon. It can make you stay small, just because the pain finally stopped. But Allah didn't create you to be numb. He created you to feel deeply, live truthfully, and walk courageously. Not just to be stable, but to be alive in your spirit. So He protected you. He let peace run late, so your character could arrive first. Because real peace isn't a feeling. It's a state of the soul. And that soul must be tested, stretched, refined, so that when peace does come, you don't bow to it. You lead with it. That's what He was preparing you for. Not a shallow life, but a deeply rooted one. A life where your silence has weight, where your eyes carry stories, where your hands build something eternal, where your presence brings light, not just calm. So don't curse the delay. Don't think He forgot you. Don't believe peace is gone forever. It's on the way, but not the version you imagined. Not a surface-level calm, but a peace that is earned, deep, and divinely protected. Because this isn't just about life getting better. It's about you becoming better, so that when peace finally arrives, it doesn't make you settle. It makes you soar. Sign 4. You weren't just waiting for peace. You were being purified for power. You keep saying you're waiting for peace. But what you don't see is that Allah has already been working, not around you, inside you. Because this isn't just a pause in your life. This is a purification, a sacred, silent, divine cleansing of your soul. Layer by layer, pain by pain, moment by moment. And no, it hasn't been gentle. It hasn't been easy, but it's been necessary. Because before He gives you the kind of peace that lasts, He has to remove everything in you. That would have made you lose it again. You weren't just waiting. You were being emptied of every part of yourself that depended on peace to feel okay, instead of depending on Allah. The restlessness you feel, that's your soul detoxing. The heartbreak you endured, that was Him cracking open the places you sealed too tightly. The betrayal, that was Him removing the people who were blocking your capacity for spiritual strength. He saw the wounds you didn't speak about. He saw the patterns you kept repeating. He saw the way you covered your pain with distractions. And He said, "No more pretending. It's time to rise." So He began to purify you. Not just your habits, not just your lifestyle, but your heart. He began to scrape away the layers of doubt. He began to confront the ego you didn't know was growing. He began to silence the voices in your head that made you feel like you were never enough. That silence you're sitting in now, that's not abandonment. That's a spiritual operating room where no noise is allowed except the sound of transformation. He took away your comfort because it was masking your wounds. He delayed your peace because it would have made you settle for a version of yourself that still depended on ease to survive. You weren't ready for peace because you hadn't yet discovered your power. And power doesn't come through ease. Power comes through pressure, through waiting that feels endless, through nights that feel unbearable, through losses that force you to kneel, not out of defeat, but out of surrender. That's what He was waiting for you to let go of control and truly say, "Ya Allah, I have nothing left but You." And in that moment, He began to build something new inside you, a type of spiritual strength that doesn't shake when life does, a type of iman that doesn't break when people leave, a type of self-worth that doesn't depend on who validates it, a type of trust that runs deeper than fear. He didn't want you to just be peaceful. He wanted you to be unbreakable, and for that, he had to burn everything in you that made you fragile. This is why your tears haven't stopped, why your chest still aches, why your plans keep shifting. Because he's not done. He's still removing, rewiring, and restoring. And when he's done, when the fire settles, when the storm calms, you won't just feel better. You'll feel reborn. Not the same person who asked for peace, but someone who walks in it with power. Someone who can be alone and not feel empty. Someone who can lose and still stand tall. Someone who can be tested and still say, Alhamdulillah, I know he's preparing me for something bigger, because real peace isn't just quietness. It's clarity, it's certainty, it's power under control. And that's what Allah has been shaping in you. A peace that doesn't just comfort you, a peace that crowns you. So if your soul still feels heavy, if your body still feels like it's carrying something unseen, maybe it's because he's not finished yet. Because the peace he's preparing for you requires a new version of you to receive it. Not the broken version, not the rushed version, but the purified version who no longer begs for stillness, because they've been taught how to walk with it. Sign 5, the door didn't just close, it was sealed because it would have softened your spirit. You keep staring at the door that closed, the job you didn't get, the person who left, the dream that disappeared right when it felt close enough to touch. And every part of you keeps wondering, what did I do wrong? Why would Allah let me come so close, only to watch it slip away? But what you don't realize is this. The door didn't just close. It was sealed, divinely, permanently, mercifully sealed. Not to break you, but to protect you from a version of peace that would have made you weaker in the long run. Because what was behind that door wasn't built for who you're meant to become. It was built for who you were still trying to outgrow. You saw stability. Allah saw spiritual sleep. You saw love. Allah saw emotional dependency. You saw peace, but Allah saw how that peace would have kept you small. You would have softened too soon, fallen asleep inside comfort, given your loyalty to something that wasn't designed to survive your calling. So he didn't just close the door. He locked it shut, then pulled your soul back so forcefully that it hurt like heartbreak. Because that's how mercy sometimes feels in the beginning. It feels like rejection. But what it really is protection from regression. You were asking for peace, but the version of peace behind that door would have made you quiet in the wrong way. You would have smiled more, yes, but you would have stopped growing. You would have felt calm, but you would have stopped hearing your soul cry at night. And Allah knew. He knew that peace too early would have made you settle for a shallow life. You would have accepted less than your purpose, just because it felt safe. You would have clung to someone who made you feel seen, but couldn't carry you through the fire you were born to walk through. So he closed it, and you didn't understand, and you cried, and you blamed yourself. But Allah saw the full picture. He saw the weight your soul was built to carry, and how that door would have made you too soft to survive the storms ahead. Because he's not building a fragile believer. He's building a resilient one. Someone who walks with light, not just in the absence of pain, but in the middle of it. Someone who can lose everything and still say, Alhamdulillah. So when he closed that door, he wasn't just taking something from you. He was shaping the very edge of your spirit, sharpening your discernment, strengthening your discipline, teaching you how to walk away from what dims your clarity, even if your heart once called it home. You see, sometimes the door isn't the test. Leaving it closed is, because Allah will show you exactly what you want. He'll let you taste it, dream it, touch it, and then take it away. Not to tease you, but to teach you what you still need to unlearn. You still thought love meant comfort. You still thought peace meant less pressure. You still thought quiet meant growth. But sometimes what seems peaceful is actually just a quiet cage. And Allah didn't create you to live in cages. He created you to move through the world with weight in your words, fire in your faith, and a spine made of dua. So when He sealed that door, He wasn't denying your worth. He was revealing it. He was saying, you don't belong in that room anymore. And when peace finally comes, real peace, it won't come through doors you had to beg to stay open. It will come through spaces that feel like they were always written for you. Spaces that don't shrink you. People who don't ask you to dim your light. Opportunities that don't drain your soul, just to keep you in them. So don't mourn what's been sealed. Mourn the parts of you that were willing to settle for it. And then rise. Rise into the strength that only divine rejection could have created. Because one day, you will look back at the door you cried over and whisper, Alhamdulillah, it closed. Sign 6. The restlessness you feel isn't a sign of failure. It's the pulse of a calling you're not supposed to ignore. You've been feeling unsettled lately. No matter what you do, it's like peace slips through your fingers. You try to rest, but your mind keeps racing. You try to enjoy life like others do, but something inside you keeps whispering, there's more to this than you think. You pray, but it feels like you're waiting for something you can't name. You smile, but it never reaches your soul. You distract yourself, but the ache always returns. The emptiness, the tension, the weight on your chest that refuses to lift. And you keep asking yourself, what's wrong with me? But what if the answer is, nothing's wrong at all? What if your restlessness isn't a sign of failure, but a signal of awakening? Because that feeling in your chest, that pressure you can't explain, that constant discomfort that makes you question your own peace, that's not weakness. That's not anxiety. That's not burnout. That's the pulse of your purpose, trying to get your attention. It's not that you've lost your way. It's that you've outgrown where you are. And your soul knows it. Allah placed a deeper calling inside you, and it's starting to rise. It's no longer content with shallow dreams, temporary pleasure, or staying in the same place. That restlessness you feel at night, that ache when you see people wasting their lives, that fire. When you hear the Quran and feel something stir inside you, it's not noise, it's not random, it's a divine heartbeat, a pull, a calling, a heavenly signal that you were created for something bigger than the life you've been taught to settle for. And it hurts, because you keep trying to silence it. You keep calling it stress. You keep trying to numb it with routine. You keep trying to hide it under smiles and plans and, I'm fine. But this isn't something you can bury. It's not something you can ignore forever. Because Allah doesn't just call prophets. He calls ordinary souls to do extraordinary things. He calls believers who are broken, who are tired, who are scared, but who are willing. And that call doesn't always come through miracles. Sometimes it comes through restlessness. He makes your old life feel tight. He removes joy from places that once comforted you. He places a strange sadness in your chest when you try to stay where you no longer belong, because you're not meant to stay there anymore. Your soul is too big for the space you're trying to survive in. Your potential is too heavy for the shallow life you're still trying to carry. And so Allah presses on your chest, not to break you, but to push you out of hiding. He doesn't want you numb. He wants you awake. He wants you hungry again, hungry for truth, hungry for sincerity, hungry for a life that makes you feel alive, not just busy. You were never meant to fit in. That's why peace never stays long when you pretend, because Allah didn't create you for comfort. He created you for clarity, and clarity requires restlessness first. It requires tension. It requires you to question everything until your soul finally says, I want Allah, and I want what He wrote for me, even if it's hard. That's the moment everything changes. When you stop resisting the discomfort and start listening to it, because it's not here to destroy you, it's here to redirect you. So, if your days feel heavy, if you're tired but can't sleep, if your heart feels full of emotion you can't explain, pause. Don't escape it. Sit with it. Let the ache rise. Let the questions burn. And instead of silencing the voice inside you, ask it what it came to teach you. Ask yourself, what am I pretending not to see? Where am I staying that no longer reflects my growth? What if this restlessness is a message from Allah? Because it is. Allah doesn't let your soul stir without a reason. That shaking in your chest is a preparation. He's softening the shell around your heart, so something greater can finally enter. So don't rush to fix it. Don't run back to distractions. Don't beg for the old peace to return. That old peace was silence. But what He's offering now is power. The kind of power that lets you walk into your new season with a heart that doesn't flinch anymore, a mind that doesn't settle, a soul that finally knows. This isn't confusion. This is a call. And if you answer it, if you follow it, if you surrender to it, you won't just find peace. You'll find alignment. You'll find meaning. You'll find the version of yourself that Allah always knew was inside you, waiting. So the next time your chest aches with that strange weight again, don't ask for it to go away. Ask Allah what it's trying to reveal. Because that restlessness, it's not your weakness. It's the echo of your calling. And it's time to stop ignoring it. Sign 7, He didn't give you peace yet, because He's still teaching you how to protect it. You keep asking Allah for peace. And when it doesn't come, you start wondering if something's wrong with you. You pray, you cry, you wait, and still the noise inside you stays loud. The world outside you still feels heavy. You ask again, Ya Allah, why haven't you answered me yet? But maybe He hasn't given you peace yet because you're still learning how to protect it. Because peace, real peace, isn't something soft that lands in your life and stays. It's not something you're gifted once and then it never fades. It's a responsibility, a trust. It's something that requires strength, discipline, boundaries, spiritual awareness, and a heart that knows how to say no to everything that threatens it. Allah didn't delay peace because He doesn't love you. He delayed it because He's still training your hands to hold it properly. Because if He gave it to you too soon, you would have handed it to people who didn't deserve it. You would have let someone's words steal it. You would have let one failure drown it. You would have let one delay destroy it. You would have called it peace, but you wouldn't know how to keep it safe. So, instead of giving you peace, He gave you situations that tested your protection system. He let the wrong people enter your life, just to teach you how to guard your heart. He let disappointment visit again and again, so you'd stop placing your peace in outcomes. He let your plans collapse, so you'd finally understand peace isn't in what happens. It's in who you trust when it all falls apart. Because peace can't live in a heart that chases everything. Peace can't stay in a soul that opens itself to every opinion, every voice, every demand. Peace isn't the absence of noise. It's the presence of control, not over the world, but over your reactions to it. And you weren't ready yet, because you still made your peace dependent on how others treated you. You still gave people permission to disturb what Allah was trying to preserve. You still opened your heart to places He was trying to protect you from. So Allah held it back, not to punish you, but to strengthen you. He gave you heartbreak, so you'd stop giving away your emotional safety to anyone who smiled. He gave you silence, so you'd learn that peace doesn't always mean noise is gone. It means your trust in Him is louder than everything else. He gave you loss, so you'd stop anchoring your peace in things that don't last. You asked for peace, but what you needed first was preparation. The peace you want is heavy, it's holy, and not everyone can carry it. Not every version of you can carry it, because peace is power. It's the ability to walk through storms without letting them inside your chest. It's the ability to be rejected and still say, Alhamdulillah, without bitterness. It's the ability to walk away from what you love when Allah shows you it's blocking your growth. That kind of peace can't be given to someone who still finds comfort in chaos. It can't be given to someone who still allows guilt to guide their boundaries. It can't be given to someone who makes room for everyone, even when it costs their own emotional safety. You weren't ready to protect it, and Allah knew that, so He didn't give it. He waited. He trained you. He sent lessons disguised as delays. He sent heartbreak disguised as redirection. He sent silence disguised as spiritual weightlifting, because He knew peace that's not protected is peace that will not stay. And now that you've been through the fire, now that you've said goodbye to people you once begged to stay, now that you've finally learned how to sit with your own thoughts without needing noise to drown them, now you're learning. You're learning how to say, "This doesn't deserve my peace." You're learning how to walk away from anything that threatens your soul's stillness. You're learning that you are allowed to protect your energy without guilt, without apology, without looking back. And that's how Allah knows you're finally becoming someone who won't hand peace over so easily again. Because when peace finally comes, real, soul-deep, lasting peace, you'll recognize it. Not because it removes all problems, but because it brings a stillness in your heart that doesn't depend on outcomes, approval, or applause. And you'll hold it differently, gently, gratefully, firmly, because now you'll know peace was never late. It was just too valuable to give to someone who hadn't yet learned how to protect it. Sign 8. When the peace finally arrives, it won't be the same person receiving it. You keep asking when peace will finally come. You keep looking at your life wondering, how much longer do I have to endure this? How many more nights like this? How many more tests before I can finally breathe? And I promise you, the peace will come. The silence will soften. The ache will lift. The storm will pass. But when it does, you will not be the same person who once begged for it. Because the person who asked for peace back then was tired, yes, was hurting, yes, but also wasn't ready. Not ready to carry peace, not ready to honor it, not ready to protect it without depending on the world to keep it intact. And so Allah didn't say no. He said not yet, because He was still refining the hands that would receive it. He was still burning away the desperation, so that when peace finally landed, you'd no longer worship the relief. You'd worship the one who delivered it. The peace you asked for wasn't denied. It was being delayed by design. So, it could arrive only when your soul was steady enough to hold it. Because you've changed now. And if you look closely, you'll realize you no longer cry over the same things. You no longer react with the same fear. You no longer beg for answers the way you used to. You've been through too much. Not just to survive, but to evolve. You've been shaped by pain that only Allah saw. You've walked through fires that no one knew you were standing in. You've rebuilt yourself in silence, on nights when no one texted, no one checked in. But your heart still whispered, Ya Allah, I trust you anyway. You don't flinch the way you did before. You don't depend on the world to validate your calm. You don't attach your peace to the approval of people who once made you feel invisible. Because something happened in the waiting. Something happened in the delay. Something changed in the process. You became someone else. The peace you were begging for was meant for this version of you, the one who walks slower, but with more intention. The one who speaks less, but says more. The one who still feels deeply, but no longer lets emotions drag them back into darkness. You've been carved, cleansed, confronted by Allah, through heartbreak, through loss, through long, silent nights. You're not the person who once begged for ease like a child needing shelter. You're the person who now carries shelter within them. And that's why peace will feel different when it finally arrives. It won't feel like a rescue. It'll feel like alignment, like something that fits you now, because you've grown into it, because you've suffered your way into clarity, because you've been rewired from the inside. And this time, peace won't land in fragile hands. It won't fall into a desperate heart. It will rest inside someone who knows where it comes from. Someone who knows not to give it away for company, or trade it for validation, or bury it in fear of conflict. This time, peace will be holy. Not because it looks perfect, but because you'll treat it like it is. You won't let people disturb it. You won't let the world rush it. You won't panic when it gets quiet again, because now you've lived enough nights in silence to know that quiet doesn't mean empty. It means divine presence. You've grown into someone who doesn't chase calm anymore. You carry it because Allah placed it in you, not as a gift to be admired, but as a weapon to survive the next storm. And when others wonder how you're so steady, how you didn't lose your mind in everything you've lost, you'll smile softly and whisper, because I waited for the kind of peace that matched the strength Allah built inside me. This is what He was preparing all along. So when the peace comes, don't expect to feel like your old self again. You won't, because the person who receives it isn't the one who broke. It's the one who rose. So maybe the peace you've been begging for was never denied. It was simply delayed until you became strong enough to protect it, to carry it, to live in it without losing yourself again. And maybe the silence wasn't rejection. Maybe it was Allah building a version of you That doesn't flinch when the storm returns. That doesn't collapse when life changes. That doesn't chase calm anymore, because calm now lives inside you. You were never just waiting for peace. You were being prepared to carry it like a crown, not a crutch. And when it finally comes, you won't say, "Ya Allah, why did you make me wait so long?" You'll say, "Ya Allah, thank you for not giving it to me before I was ready to receive it the way you intended." Because this version of you, this healed, sharpened, deeply awakened version, would never trade the fire you walked through for anything less than the power it gave you.